Hello, I'm David, and for critique number 1, I looked at the study Enhancing Cognition with Video Games, a multiple game training study. Cognition, again, is the process of thinking, so reasoning, decision making, using attention, memory, language. These are all aspects of cognition. And through this study, the researchers reported previous experimental studies that tested cognitive developments from video gameplay, and specifically those previous studies looked at action first-person shooter games. The cognitive developments that these other studies have shown are improvements in peripheral vision, reduced crowding effect, which is basically saying that your intrinsic motivation supersedes an external reward, improved contrast sensitivity, attending to multiple objects simultaneously, superior spatial skills, task switching, working memory, and a slew of other cognitive abilities. However, not many studies have looked at the cognitive enhancement from non-action video games. So this study compared video game training with experimental and behavioral tasks, and they used these behavioral tasks as pre and post measures to see if there was any transfer effects from video gameplay. So the study started with 5 hypotheses, each reflecting a different video game genre, and they looked at how the different elements and demands within the video game transferred to different cognitive abilities. The game genres included an action video game such as Modern Combat Sandstorm, a match 3 game such as Bejeweled 2, hidden object game such as Hidden Expedition, a memory game such as Memory Matrix, and an agent-based life simulation game such as The Sims 3. All these games were made available on mobile device, and that's how the participants actually played. The study was composed of 75 young adults with little to no video game experience, and after they were told the requirements of the study, the participants spent approximately 1.5 hours performing the computerized experimental tasks in a randomized order. These experimental tasks included an attentional blink task. I'm going to go over the surface level of these, but I'll include more description on what each one of them does in the text provided below in this video explanation. But an intentional blink task that measured how fast individuals could process letters in a specific time frame. A filter task that measured cognitive control, which is basically one's ability to filter out multiple distractors, as well as multiple object tracking, so detecting changes across a number of targets. There was a visual search and spatial memory task that measured one's ability to process a visual scene and remember spatial elements of that. And then finally, there was a complex task that required individuals to remember a sequence of letters while performing arithmetic operations. So after these 4 behavioral tasks, participants downloaded the randomly assigned game, either Modern Combat, Bejeweled, Hidden Expedition, Memory Matrix, or The Sims, and they were required to play for 1 hour every day, or 2 half hours every day, 5 days a week for 4 weeks, so for a total of 20 hours. And afterwards, they were tested once again on these behavioral tasks. The results revealed that cognitive improvements were not limited to just action video games. The cognitive abilities required in each game transferred to specific behavioral tasks. So, in other words, if a video game like Bejeweled challenged higher order executive processes, which is your ability to shift between tasks and prioritize what actions you should execute, then the participants' post-test scores, so at the end of the 20 hours, on, say, the complex span task, showed a significant improvement. So for instance, Bejeweled. There was a significant increase along with the action game. So a large portion of their findings support transfer between common elements and demands amongst tasks, basically saying that if cognitive abilities that get trained in an action game, if those same abilities are used in a behavioral or experimental task like this complex verbal span, you're going to see a transfer between those effects. So basically, the results, especially for this action game genre, were consistent with a number of previous findings, and it was cool that this study found a lot of novel transfer effects with non-action video games. Not many other studies have looked at non-action video games. So this gives weight to the theory that identical elements, again, elements within a video games and elements within a behavioral task, will support transfer effects. However, they had a number of questions to what level these transfer effects occur, and we could go on for a while with that. So in a nutshell, video games produce a number of cognitive developments, and the greater number of games we have to test the greater number of cognitive abilities out there, the more we'll be able to see what elements specifically affect what abilities, and then how that transfer relates, whether it's at a general level, specific. There's areas that they go into on this, but for the sake of this critique, they found a lot of useful information that is helpful for new and further studies. Thank you, and if you have any questions, feel free to shoot me an email at corsod@email.sc.edu. Thanks. Bye.